Good evening. In this session, let's discuss regarding inflation. Much known word, much familiar word to you all. Every time we come across this particular word in the newspaper. But what exactly is the meaning of the word inflation? Inflation means it's a persistent rise in the prices of commodities over a period of time. Kindly remember, when you are writing the main examination, you need to write answers in descriptive format. If there is a question on inflation, please do write the definition of inflation. Otherwise, it will not carry the weightage. Right? But when it comes to objective type of examination, question is given, 4 options are given, and you need to pick up the correct option. Clear? So when it comes to inflation, this is the continuous rise in the prices of the commodities over a period of time. Kindly remember the words over a period of time, that is really very important. Let me explain you. Today you go to fruit market and you have purchased like 1 dozen apples, so that may be costing around 300 rupees. And tomorrow you go to the same fruit market and that person may be saying that is 320 rupees. So yesterday 300, today 320, tomorrow it may be 340. Clear? But again, after 2 days that may come back to 320, again 310 and 300, and sometimes it may go less than 300 also. Those things are not considered as inflation. But when we say inflation, inflation is continuous rise in the prices of the commodities, not single commodity, commodities over a period of time. That is the reason why generally if the prices of the commodities are increasing continuously for 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, then that will be considered as inflation. Clear? And whenever there is an inflation, as we know, 2 important agencies will step in. One is Reserve Bank of India. Number 2, the Government of India. Very important one. That is the reason why, please remember, we have discussed these points in the earlier classes also. When it comes to inflation, both RBI on one side and Government of India on the other side, they try to tackle with the inflation. They will try to keep the inflation under control every time. Clear? Next, let's go ahead and discuss more points. This is the definition of inflation. Inflation is the continuous rise in the prices of commodities over a period of time. Now, let's look at the reasons for inflation. Tomorrow it may be a question at the main examination or at the preliminary level, right? So you may be asked to write the reasons for inflation, right? For example, if it is objective type of examination like a preliminary examination, you may be asked to find out which of the following are the reasons for inflation. So they will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, and you need to pick up the correct options from there. Clear? But if you look at the screen here, so we have many reasons for inflation. Let's try to understand one after the other very closely. Kindly remember this one. Knowing the reasons is not only important, but why this particular reason is causing the inflation. That is very important for you to learn to crack the examination. Clear? Let's look at this. Number 1, one of the reasons for the inflation is the increase in government expenditure. So what is happening? Government is spending more. So maybe on the infrastructure, maybe on the the subsidies, but the government is spending more, right? And the government will increase the dearness allowance, the government will increase the salaries, and the government will spend on many things. Clear? But what is happening? How exactly this is the reason for inflation? When some authority is spending more, obviously there will be more flow of money in the market. So these are the basic principles which we are learning from the beginning of our first class. Clear? So whenever the government expenditure is increasing, it means that there is more money in the market. So there is a more flow of money in the market. I told you already, if there is more money in the market, that will lead to the price rise. That is nothing but the inflation. So we understood that. So this is the increase in government expenditure is one of the reasons for inflation. How? I have explained to you. Clear? Very, very important one. Especially all of you, my dear close friends, who are preparing for the civil service main examination or group 1 main examination at the state level, please remember, in the descriptive type of answer, if you just write a reason and leave it, marks will not be awarded for that. So so you have to give reason followed by the explanation, then only that will carry weightage. Only when there is weightage in your answer, you will be given good marks. Please remember this point. Clear? Point number 1. Next is the low food production is leading to inflation. How? Look at, recollect what we have discussed under first 5-year plan, under second 5-year plan. I'll just try to revise very briefly. In the first 5-year plan, we have given highest priority to agriculture. Everything was in favor of agriculture. That is the reason why agriculture production has increased and more food grains are available in the market. Meaning, supply was more than the demand. So that is the reason why at that time what happened? The prices have come down. Clear? This is what we have learnt. But when it comes to the second 5-year plan, at the end of the second 5-year plan, we have noticed that, right? So there is an inflation. So there was a price rise. Why? Because of the low production of the food grains, low supply of the food grains, that led to the, this inflation. Same thing is applicable here. Whenever there is a low food production, there will be more demand. Supply is less, demand is more, then obviously people will try to spend more because the resources are very meager and limited. Am I clear? So obviously that will be leading to, right, the increasing of the prices. I'll just tell you one example. You take one festival, any festival of your choice which you follow. So right, so we have, everywhere we have a custom to break the coconuts. So you go to a temple just 2 days before a festival, and the person may be saying 20 rupees per coconut. Then you pay 20 rupees and you break the coconut and you pray to the God that, God, please see that, please bless me that I must clear this examination. I must be selected for the top level service. Right? So, right, we all seek the blessings of the gods. Fine. But, after 2 days there is a festival. Now, again, people will go to, the temple for seeking the blessings to have the darshan of God. Now, when you are purchasing here a coconut, that person will say 30 rupees. Right? Just 1 day before it was 20. Right? So now today you are saying, 30 rupees per coconut. So what is the difference here? So the difference is that the demand has been increased. Because it is a festival day, more devotees will come to the temple and more devotees want to break the coconut to seek the blessings of the God. Clear? So that is the reason why whenever there is a demand, more demand, the supply should also be equal. But the supply is normal, but the demand has been increased. That is the reason why. So you are lifting up the prices. Am I clear? So that is the reason why if you ask the shop owner why 30 rupees today and yesterday it was 20 rupees, then the only answer what they give you is that festival. That's it. Clear? So, and we also don't have anything to argue with them. So we pay 30 rupees and we'll go back. But the actual reason is this. This is a low production when compared to the demand. Supply is not meeting the demand. That is the reason why, right, there is a price rise. This is one of the reasons with respect to, this inflation. Next, third one is the black money. So in the earlier classes I have discussed very elaborately with you regarding black money. Let me not go into the details. Black money is simply the unaccounted money, unaccounted money. Clear? So when there is so much of unaccounted money, people will try to spend exorbitantly, right? So a person, a government official may be corrupt, somebody may be corrupt, and the people are earning huge amounts of money, and they cannot show it in the their accounts, right? If they are showing in the accounts, they are caught. That is the reason why. So they keep the money aside, and they try to spend that money very exorbitantly, because that is not the hard earned money. And when people are spending more black money, more money will be there in the market. Clear? So when more money is there in the market, the prices will increase. That is one of the reasons why there is an increase in the prices of the commodities. Meaning, third reason is the black money is one of the reasons for inflation. Hope you are understanding, my dear friends. Please write down the reasons also. Clear? Next, poor infrastructure. Clear? So when it leads to poor infrastructure, arrangements are not good. So it will take longer time, a longer journey, more fuel for taking the goods from one place to the other place. And the traders, they want to cover up all the expenditure. Clear? So they want to cover up all their expenditure, including the wastage of the fuel and everything. So that is the reason why. So when the transportation charges are increased because of the poor infrastructure, that will lead to the inflation. Clear? That is another reason. Next one is the increase in oil prices. This we'll see every time. Practically every one of us has faced this problem, right? So whenever the government announces that there is an increase of 1 rupee in the petrol price, 1 rupee in the diesel price, so the prices of every commodity will increase, right? So for example, if you're traveling by auto also, right, auto rickshaw, so he will increase the price. You are going by cab, he'll be increasing the price, right? And when you want to purchase tomatoes or brinjals or any vegetable or fruits, the prices are increased. Clear? So with the mere increase of 1 rupee in the oil price, there is an increase of almost every commodity's price. Why? Because when the oil prices are increased, transportation charges also increased, and the traders have to throw the expenditure on the consumers. So they will throw the expenditure on us, and they will try to collect more from the people. Am I clear? That is the reason why whenever oil prices are increased, that leads to increase in the prices of the commodities. This is also one of the reasons for inflation. Next is the hoarding of essential commodities. The right example with which we have experience is the onions. So onions are hoarded, and deliberately the traders are not releasing them into the market, because they are creating the artificial scarcity. So, and people, every family, every person will take these onions, right? So when these onions are not available in the market, the meagerly available onions prices will be shooting up. That is the reason why during this time the government officials will raid on those traders who have hoarded the onions, and they break open the godowns, and they will send it to the market only to bring down the prices of the onions. Am I clear? So hoarding of essential commodities will lead to the inflation. Next is the taxation policies. So when it comes to the taxation policies, that is also one of the reasons for the inflation. Clear? So what is this taxation? How the taxation policies are affecting the people, and how exactly this is one of the reasons why for inflation. All these things I am going to explain you when we discuss about the taxation. But otherwise, remember, taxation policies will lead to the inflation. Next is the rumors. So what do you mean by rumors? Sometimes, we'll come to know that there will not be tomatoes available in the market from tomorrow. Onion prices are going to be increased from, you know, day after tomorrow. Fine. And the oil prices are going to be increased by the end of this month. So when you come across with these rumors, then automatically people will flood in to purchase more. They will try to fill up their tank with oil. They want to purchase more tomatoes, onions, they want to store it, because after a few days the price is going to be increased. So these rumors will also lead to you know the inflation, because people will go to the market, people will try to purchase more, they will try to spend more. Whenever somebody is spending more, that will lead to inflation. Am I clear? So these are all the reasons for inflation. Next, let's discuss more points now. Look at this. So let's discuss regarding the types of inflation. We have already discussed regarding demand pull inflation in the earlier class. Same thing is here. Cost push inflation, everything, right? We have discussed. Now look at this. So when you come across with one type of inflation, that is the demand pull inflation. More demand is there, but less supply. That is called demand pull inflation. Is that okay? Too much money is chasing limited goods. In simple terms, the demand is increasing than the supply. If it is so, that is called demand pull inflation, meaning there is a huge force from the demand side. People want to purchase more, people are demanding more, but the supply is not in the demand, not meeting the demand. That is the reason why that is leading to inflation, and the prices will increase. Very, 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 very important one. What happens in demand pull inflation? The demand is increasing, so we are not bothered so much about the supply here, but supply is less than the demand is huge, and that is leading to inflation. That is called demand full inflation. Am I clear? Very, very, very important one. Write down all the points very closely, my dear friends. Next is the cost push inflation, right? So what is the meaning of this cost push inflation? So when the cost goes up, the companies will increase the prices to maintain their profit margin. I told you already, the private companies will work for the profits. That is their basic motto, right? And sometimes what happens, the raw material cost will increase, and the government will increase, the power tariffs. The government will increase, the water charges, right? And if the company wants to bear all these charges without increasing the prices, the company is reducing its margins, the company is reducing its profits. That is the reason why no company wants to lose the profits. That is the reason why whatever the extra burden that is coming to them with respect to increase in the price of the raw material, that extra cost will be pushed onto the consumers. Clear? Very, very important one. So this is called cost push inflation. Very important one. So the inflation is being caused because of the cost push, right? Because the basic charges have been increased, and you are pushing this cost onto the customers, consumers. That is called cost push inflation. Am I clear? First one is the demand pull inflation. Second one is the cost push inflation. Third one is the built-in inflation. What do you mean by this built-in inflation? For all the reasons what we have discussed, there is an inflation outside. Is that okay? When I say outside, that outside is affecting the people. So the people, whatever they are earning, that money is not sufficient to meet this inflation. Alright? So whenever there is an inflation, their salaries must also be increased. Only then they will be able to purchase the goods, purchase the commodities. Right? So when it comes to built-in inflation, if there is an inflation outside, the employees will demand for increasing their salaries. Clear? It is not that they are putting pressure on the company to increase the salaries, but they are asking for increasing the salaries to meet the price raises. Clear? Whom do they ask? First of all, employee is working for an organization, so obviously that employee will ask the head of the organization, and it is the responsibility of the organization to see that whatever the remuneration that is being paid to the employees, they are in a position to meet their expenditure, and this is called the built-in inflation. This will come into the picture only when the given salaries and wages are not sufficient to meet the inflation outside. That is called built-in inflation. So tomorrow it may be a question in the examination. What is the demand pull inflation? What is the cost push inflation? What is built-in inflation? So read the options carefully, read the statements carefully, and go for the correct answer. Am I clear? Next, so what happens with inflation? Let it be any inflation, whether it is demand pull, cost push, or built-in, the prices of the commodities will increase. We know this. Number two, the purchasing power will decrease. Please remember, these are all the known points which we have discussed in the earlier classes. That is the reason why, so there is no necessity for explaining all these things again. Hence, I request all of you to follow the classes very carefully from the beginning. Am I clear? So, whenever the prices of the commodities are increasing, whenever there is an inflation, the purchasing power will come down. Is that okay? Similarly, the inflation will cut down the consumption levels. That's it. So whatever I was able to purchase till yesterday, today I am not in a position to purchase because of the inflation, and the amount of money that I am getting is not sufficient to meet the inflation. That is the reason why the people will try to cut down the consumption levels. Am I clear? Next, clear? So that is the reason why some people have the habit of eating egg every day. So there may be 4 members in the family and 4 eggs per day. But if the prices of the eggs has been increased, then obviously that family may not be in a position to afford to purchase the eggs at the increased prices. But still they have the habit. But what they will do, instead of eating the egg every afternoon, so they will be shifting that to every alternate day. Clear? So let's have it on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, like this. Clear? Very, very important. So they will give a gap. Clear? Very, very important. So some people who are eating the eggs every day, they have shifted to alternate days. So that is nothing but the cut down in the consumption levels. Very, very, very important. Clear? And it will reduce the standard of living. Clear? And this will also leads to hoarding. How? When the traders come to know that the prices are increasing, there is an inflation, they will try to hoard more. So that what will happen? After 2 days, 3 days, or after 1 week, there will be more demand in the market and the prices will increase further. So let's create artificial scarcity and hoard our commodities, so that artificial scarcity will be created, there will be more demand. Fine. So this is one reason why inflation will also lead to hoarding, right? And inflation will also lead to increase of the wages. I told you already. So this is the built-in inflation. So whenever there is the inflation, the companies are forced to increase the wages of the employees, because you have to allow them to meet the demands of the inflation. Am I clear? So these are all the consequences of the inflation. Hope you understood every point. You should be very, very clear with each and every point, my dear friends. Right? Now, how the inflation is measured? Inflation is measured by 2 methods. One is the WPI, wholesale price index, and second one is the CPI, Consumer Price Index. So let's try to understand what exactly is this. Right? Now let's go ahead and check here. Look at this. Right. So now, before we understand what exactly is the wholesale price index and consumer price index, you might have heard these names, right? And you must have read in the newspaper also. But how do you decide this, wholesale price or consumer price? In order to know this one, first of all, you need to understand what is the market basket, right? I told you earlier that if the price of a single commodity is increasing, I cannot call it as, inflation. So whenever I say inflation, that should affect a large number of commodities. Clear? And these commodities we are keeping in a basket, not a physical basket, but imaginary basket. Am I clear? So this is the imaginary basket where you are keeping certain commodities which are used regularly, like fruits, vegetables, steel, cement, right, petrol. So all these things are kept in a basket, imaginary basket. Basket itself is an imaginary and commodities are also imaginary. Is that okay? So this is for the purpose of imagination, only then we will be in a position to calculate this. So this is called the market basket. So the number of goods that are representatives of the economy are grouped together into what is called market basket, right? So within this invisible imaginary basket, what are the prices of the various commodities that are increasing? If a large number of commodities in this invisible basket or imaginary basket are increasing, then we can decide whether it is leading to inflation or not. Am I clear? Next one is the price index. So when you say index here, what do you mean by this? So when I say index, I have 1 year, right, and I have the current year. Fine. So starting from this particular year, for example 2012, so this is the this is the year, and we are in the year 2024, right? So we know this 2024. So now, for example, if you want to look at the index, petrol price what is today was not the same that of 2012, right? So you are comparing 2024 petrol price with that of 2012. This is called price index. Is that clear? Very, 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 very important one. So what is the price of petrol today? What was the price of petrol in the year 2012? We are comparing index, that is called price index. And this is the current year 2024. And listen to me very carefully. This 2012 is called base year. Very, 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 very important. You have come across with base year words in the newspaper many, many, many times. Clear? This is the meaning of the base year. Base year is that year with which the current commodities prices are compared. Is that okay? Who will decide what is this base year? That will be decided by the government of India. Am I clear? Very, 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 very important. So now you know what is the meaning of market basket. You know what is the meaning of the price index. You also know what is the meaning of the words base year. Am I clear? Now let's go ahead, my dear friends. Look at this. So when it comes to WPI, important points again. It was first published in India in the year 1902. Important for objective type of examination. And when it comes to the base year, I told you just now, the first base year in India was 1950-53. Is that okay? And this is revised roughly every decade. Roughly, right? Not exactly. Every 10 years we revise it. It is revised on the recommendations given by a committee appointed by the government. We know what is the committee. For a particular purpose a committee is appointed. Based on the recommendations of that committee, the government will take a decision. Clear? And so far it has been revised for 6 times. And the present base year for WPI is 2011 and 12. This may be a question in the examination. With respect to wholesale price index, what was the base year? Please remember, if it is given as 2011 and 12, that is the answer. If they give you 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, your answer should be 2012. Am I clear? And this was introduced in the year 2017. Meaning, in the year 2017, it was decided that the base year should be 2012. Am I clear? Very, very, very important one. And originally it consisted of 240 commodities, but today it consists of 697 items in the market basket. Is that clear? So today's prices are compared to the prices of the 2012 with respect to 697 items. Is that okay? Very, 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 very important one, right? And these are released every Thursday, and the price movement is calculated individually. Like what is today's cement price and what was the price in the year 2012? What is today's steel price and what was it in the year 2012? Like this it will be calculated individually, then that will be clubbed and given in the form of index. Clear? And who will release this? This is released by economic advisor under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Meaning WPI, wholesale price index, is released by Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Am I clear? Next, my dear friends, let's go ahead and discuss more points now. CPI, Consumer Price Index. Simple points again. It was introduced in the year 1970. With respect to this, there are 4 series. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that okay? So the number is given wrong, but there are the 4, right? So first one is the CPI UNME. It stands for Urban Non-Manual Employees. Is that okay? This is published by CSO, Central Statistical Office, which is a part of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Please remember this. Am I clear? This is number 1. Number 2, CPI-AL, agricultural laborer. So meaning, what are these commodities that are being consumed by agricultural laborers, and a separate index is prepared for them. Similarly, CPI-RL, rural labor, a separate list is given. CPI-IW, industrial worker, very, 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 very important. These are all given separately, right? CPI, agricultural laborer, rural labor, and industrial worker, published by the Department of Labor, right? What is the index? Who publishes it? That is important for the examination. Is that okay? Look at this. In October 2020, so to be very specific, it happened on October 22nd, 2020, the government revised the base year for CPI IW, right? IW stands for industrial worker, from 2001 to 2012. Please remember this very, very carefully. So WPI base year is 2012. CPI base year is also 2012. I will add one more point here. National income base year is also 2012. Clear? But today's news, today's means very latest news, is that the government wants to revise the base year of WPI, right? CPI and also national income very, very soon. That may happen immediately after the election. Is that okay? If there is any change in that before your examination, nothing to worry. You are there. I'll take care of that. I will be informing you from time to time. Is that okay? But these are the figures. So current base year for CPI 2012, current base year for WPI is a 2012 for both. Even for nation income is also it is 2012. Right? I repeat, if there is any change before your examination, let me update for you and let you know before your examination. Clear? Now, look at this. So, look at this now. Currently, the measures like index of industrial production, wholesale price index, and national income, they are benchmarked, right, for the financial year 2012. Similarly, CPI, which is a widely followed price benchmark, also uses the 2012. Am I clear? So whenever you are coming across with the concept of inflation while you are reading the newspaper, right, just recollect WPI and CPI, and CPI is most widely used benchmark. Clear? So next one, another one we have, it has been introduced in the year 2020. Clear? So this is the producer price index introduced by Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Is that okay? When it comes to the PPI, producer price index, it measures the average change in the prices received by domestic producers of goods and services over a period of time. So this is calculated at the producer's side. That is the reason why this is called producer price index. Am I clear? It was introduced in the year 2020. It's a price index that reflects the price changes at the producer level in the economy. Otherwise, the consumer price index, WPI, that we are looking at the consumer side, right? And the producer side view that we are getting from the year 2020 in the form of PPI, producer price index. Is that okay? It covers all the goods and services produced by the manufacturing sector, mining sector, and electricity sector, but excludes indirect taxes and subsidies. This is a very important point for your examination. Write down very closely and carefully. What are all included in PPI? What is excluded from PPI? Is that okay? Included manufacturing sector, mining sector, and electricity sector. What you have excluded? Indirect taxes and subsidies have been excluded from producer price index. Please remember this one and kindly remember these points as many times as possible, my dear close friends. Next, when it comes to the consequences of the inflation, already we have seen it will have worst impact on the consumers. High prices of day-to-day goods make it difficult for consumers to afford even the basic commodities in life. Yes or no? Right? Some people will, they are in a sort of, they will get into the depression because they are unable to, purchase the basic things also, meaning the essential commodities also. So this leave them with no choice but to ask for higher incomes, right? So because the money is not there, so requesting for increasing the salaries. Hence the government tries to keep the inflation under control. If there is inflation, what will happen? Employees will start demanding more money. Government cannot afford that. That is the reason why whenever there is an inflation, government will jump in, RBI will also jump in, and they use their own tools, which we have already discussed in the earlier class, and they will try to control the the inflation. Is that okay? Next, contrary to its negative effects. So whatever we have discussed, these are the negative effects, right? But a moderate level of inflation characterizes a good economy. Please write down this point. So moderate inflation, right? So there is a price rise, not too much, but there is a little price rise. So when there is a price rise, people are spending more. That is good for economy. that is good for economy, so that more money is flowing in the market. But if it becomes unbearable, that will have the worst consequences on the people and on the whole economy. Am I clear? Next, an inflation rate of 2 or 3% is beneficial for an economy, as it encourages people to buy more and borrow more, because during the times of the lower inflation, the levels of the interest rate will also remain low. I told you already, whenever there is an inflation, RBI will try to increase the interest rates, so that the more pumping of the money into the market will be stopped. Rather, RBI will try to suck the money from the market, so that the people will not have the money, and there will be no demand, and automatically the prices will be under control. Am I clear? Very, 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 very important one. But if there is a moderate inflation like 2% or 3%, the RBI and government will also encourage that, because people are spending, people are borrowing. There is a continuous flow of the money, no problem at all. Am I clear? Very, very important. That is the reason why when there is a meager, mild, right, very little inflation, then interest rates will not be altered by the RBI. Hence, the government as well as RBI always strive to achieve a limited level of inflation. Very, 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 very important. Clear? Next. So next we have something called Essential Commodities Act of 1955, which has been revised many, many times. And basically the basic purpose is to ensure easy availability of commodities at fair prices. And originally it contained 67 items, and presently it's only 15 items, and the number will keep on changing. You don't worry about that. For example, so during the COVID time, people were demanding for more, this masks and all these things. So during the time, the government included the masks in, this essential commodities. So meaning people need it, so that if you are wearing this one, you can stop the spreading of the COVID-19. That is the reason why at that time it has been included in the essential commodities, and later it has been removed. So that is the reason why this particular number will change. Am I clear? So this is basically to keep the essential commodities available for the people, and there should be no shortages of this. That is the reason why, for example, medicines are included in this, right? So otherwise, what will happen if there is a shortage of the medicines? Then what will happen to the health of the people? Right? That is the reason why government will always see that there is no shortage of the medicines in the market. Right? So from now, my dear friends, if you start reading newspaper, you will understand majority of the things from economy. So now you can answer this. During inflation, the value of the currency will increase or decrease. Right? So please mention in the comment box. Right? So you are in a position to answer now. Inflation results in the loss of value of money, yes or no? Right? Now you know the answer. Please give your reply in the comment box. Right? And my dear friends who are all watching this video, if you say yes or no, fine. But somebody will ask you why yes, why no. That is the reason why if you say yes, mention the reason. If you say no, mention the reason. Similarly, right, during inflation, the value of currency, if you think whatever you understood during this class, I am not giving you answer now because you all know. If you think that it is increases, why? Give the reason. Decreases, why? Give the reason in the comment box, so that the others will also be in a position to understand. They will also give you thumbs up, and you will be happy with that. All right? So this is how you need to give the responses, so that there will be so many people who will be interacting with you also. Look at this. So next is the concept of deflation. This is exactly opposite to inflation, right? This happens when the inflation falls below the level of 0%. You might have seen sometimes tomatoes 40 rupees per kg, Suddenly it will come down to 20 rupees. Suddenly it will come down to 5 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupee. There are no takers. Is that okay? And they say that if you want to take it, you just take it. You bear the transportation charges and you take it. That is called deflation. Very, very, very important. It happens. This is exactly opposite to, you know, uh, the inflation, right? And the value of the currency in deflation is increasing. With the amount of money what you have, you are able to purchase more. Now you can answer what happens in inflation. Inflation, the currency, the value of the currency will, right? I am not going to tell you. By looking at this, you can give the answer in the comment box. Am I clear? Next, the reason may be reduction of money supply or reduction of spending. The other reason may be large scale unemployment. Clear? There are two reasons here. People have either stopped spending more, right? So because of the various reasons, because there is a less supply of money, or large number of people are facing the problem of the unemployment. Clear? Next is the stagflation. This is the situation where the rate of economy growth is very, very low, and on the other side the prices are increasing right down. What is the situation called? There is a retarded growth of the economy, prices are increasing. That is called stagflation. So the effects are increased unemployment and inflation. This is leading to inflation. This is also leading to, you know, unemployment, because there is no proper economic growth. This generally happens internationally. When the oil prices shoot up very sharply, this happened during 1970s, 1991, 2008. Like this, you know, this will happen, and this is called stagflation. There is a low economic growth. At the same time, you know, the prices are increasing. It's a very, very tough situation. Next is the hyperinflation. Hyper, too much. This is a situation of a sharp increase in the prices. This happens when there is too much of money flow into the market. There is a huge imbalance in money supply and demand. That is called hyperinflation, right? With a super jet speed, the prices are increasing. That is called hyperinflation. This will happen because there is too much of money flow in the market. Am I clear? Very, 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 very important one. Next, right? So this is the end of inflation. Hope you are very clear with the concepts now, and please revise all the topics very carefully, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you so much, and I wish you all very, very good luck.